It wasn't until I was on my deathbed that I found out Jiyu Jinghua had a vasectomy before we even got married. His voice was full of apology. I know you always wanted a child of your own, but Qingqing once bore me a son, and I promised her that no matter who I married, our estate would go to her child. If I were to have another child, I would be breaking that vow. You know, keeping my word has always meant everything to me, after half a century. I finally realized my whole life has been a joke. I stood by him. From a down-and-out youth to the pinnacle of power, he once held me and said he wanted to grow old with me. Yet all those past memories pale in comparison to the single vow he once made to his first love. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on my wedding night. He whispered in my ear, "Baby, have a child with me. I'll be good to you for the rest of my life." Feeling the warmth beside me, I felt a little dazed. These familiar words, Jiyu Jinghua had said them in my past life, too. Back then, my face flushed crimson, and I nodded shyly in response. My heart was filled with boundless anticipation for the married life that lay ahead, yet the sweet days lasted only a few months before everything descended into chaos and bitter strife. The day after our wedding, my mother-in-law, Jiyu Jinghuai's mother, hinted that I should hurry up and give the Jiyu family a son. I knew that Jiyu Jinghuai's father had passed away long ago, and he was the only male heir left in the family. Their family is quite traditional, so it's understandable that they want a child. I like children, so I wasn't really opposed to the idea. On the contrary, I kept tracking my ovulation cycle, hoping to conceive a child with Jiyu Jinghua as soon as possible. I tried countless methods, even drinking all sorts of folk remedies his mother brought me without batting an eye. Yet my belly remained still. As time went on, my mother-in-law's attitude towards me soured. Even a stone could hatch a chick if you kept it warm under the covers. So how come your belly can't even produce a single egg? Later, after Jiyu Jinghua climbed to the pinnacle of power in the business world, his mother went so far as to openly suggest he take a mistress to bear him a son. If the one at home can't produce, are we just supposed to forbid Jinghua from finding a woman outside to have a child? In tears, I poured out to Jiyu Jinghua all the various insults his mother had hurled at me. He could only shake his head helplessly. "Baby, she is my mother. After all, try to be a little more understanding of her. Okay, isn't it just the two of us building a life together? You're the one who'll be by my side in the long run. Didn't you have your eye on that new bag? I'll have someone buy it for you tomorrow." Alright, he's always like this. A slap, then a sweet. It leaves me with nowhere to vent my frustration. I desperately wanted to let it all out, but every time Jiyu Jinghua looked at me with that pitying gaze, my resolve just crumbled. It was because I had always believed that our inability to have a child was my fault. That belief left me with no ground to stand on, no strength to even argue with him. As the years went by, Jiyu Jinghua's mother eventually passed away. My relationship with Jiyu Jinghua had also begun to thaw, yet there was still no sign of a baby. But past 40, even if I wanted to conceive, it would be very difficult. It was also at this time that Jiyu Jinghua's first love, Lin Wanqing, returned to the country with her child. I know Lin Wanqing as well. We both attended the same university. In fact, Lin Wanqing and I were even roommates in the dorm. We weren't particularly close, but we got along well enough. Lin Wanqing's husband passed away, leaving only her and their child. Looking at the young Lin Jing and the tearful, worried Lin Wanqing beside him, my heart softened, and I began to help Lin Wanqing and her family from time to time. Later, Lin Wanqing even had her child take me as their godmother. I poured all the regret of my own childlessness into this child. I devoted my heart and soul to raising this child. I watched him grow into a fine man and make his mark on the world. But it wasn't until I was on the brink of death, lying frail and aged in a hospital bed, when the elegant and dignified Lin Wanqing, holding the arm of the white-haired Jiyu Jinghua, brought their now married and established son, Lin Jing, to my sickbed to visit me. That was when I realized my entire life of several decades had been a mistake, a profound and terrible mistake. Jiyu Jinghua's wrinkled face, looking at Lin Wanqing with adoration, was full of apology when he turned to me. "Old Shen, I know you've always wanted a child of your own, but Qingqing once gave me a son. And I promised her that no matter who I married, our estate would go to her child. If I were to have another child now, I'd be breaking that vow. You know me. Keeping my word means everything to me, and because of that one promise of his, my whole life has become a cruel joke. All the mockery and gossip I endured was simply because Jiyu Jinghuai had a vasectomy before he married me. I died in disgrace, bearing the weight of a false accusation. I despise my poor judgment, my weakness, and my sheer foolishness. By the grace of heaven, I have been given a chance to restart my life. I gently pushed Jiyu Jinghuai away, got up, and put my clothes back on. Jiyu Jinghuai was stunned for a second, then got up with a smile and moved closer to me. What's wrong, baby? I stood up and moved further away from him. I can't stand being near him for another second. It's disgusting. I looked at him with an expressionless face and asked coldly, Jiyu Jinghuai, if we didn't have a child, would you not be good to me for the rest of my life? Jiyu Jinghuai thought I was getting inexplicably upset over semantics and let out a soft, breathy laugh. He reached out and took hold of my hand. Baby, that's not what I meant. Don't you love children? How about having a baby with me? Don't worry. Even if we never have children, I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. You know me, keeping my word means everything to me. I sneered and shook off Jiyu Jinghuai's hand. He was right. A promise really did mean everything to him. He made a promise to Lin Wanqing and went to get a vasectomy on the eve of their wedding. He promised to be good to me for a lifetime, and true to his word, after he rose to power in his previous life, he never deprived me of material comforts again. He truly did stay with me until our hair turned white. It wasn't until I was on my deathbed that he finally told me the whole truth. If it weren't for him, I would never have had to endure all of this. He stood by like a detached spectator, watching coldly as his mother gave me endless grief, all because of his own selfish actions. He watched me torment myself, trying every bizarre method imaginable just to conceive a child that would be ours. He watched me endure the ridicule of others, watched my youth fade away, all while I poured my heart and soul into caring for his child with Lin Wanqing. All of this, it's all because of him, Jiyu Jinghuai. I took a deep breath, steadying my trembling body, and looked at Jiyu Jinghuai with a smile. On our wedding night, let's get a divorce, Jiyu Jinghuai. I regret it. When Jiyu Jinghuai heard me mention divorce, he panicked instantly. He scrambled out of bed and pulled me into a tight embrace. Baby, didn't we just get married today? Why? Why would you say something like that? Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry. I'll apologize. Okay, marriage isn't a game. Please don't say such hurtful things in anger. We just had the wedding. We've received so many blessings from family and friends today. How can you talk about divorce so casually? Think of the scandal it would cause. My mother finally held her head high in front of the relatives, finally got her vindication. And now you want to make a mockery of it all by getting divorced the day after the wedding. What is she supposed to do? Baby, please listen to me, okay? Let's not say these hurtful things. If you feel pressured by me mentioning having children, we can take it slow. Alright, Jiyu Jinghuai kept trying to placate me, laying out all the pros and cons. Yet, I remained completely unmoved. Seeing me like this, his face instantly turned cold as he pushed me away. Shenbei Yu, did your friends say something to you at the wedding today? Do you look down on me now? Yes, I know I don't have money right now, and I can't offer you material security, but it's not going to be like this forever. I will succeed eventually. I promise I'll give you a good life. I know your parents aren't happy with me, and you've sacrificed a lot because of it, but my family is very traditional. You know my situation. My dad died young, and my mom's only wish is for me to settle down and have a child of my own, so she can have a grandchild. How can you not even understand that? Jiyu Jinghuai's hysterical outburst reminded me of Lin Jing from my past life, and how he looked when he came to my hospital room, in my past life. Since I never had children of my own, I treated Lin Jing as my own son, always putting him first in everything. His biological mother, Lin Wanqing, always had an excuse for not having time to look after him, so she would just dump the kid on me. I personally took care of everything for Lin Jing, from food and clothes to school supplies and tutoring fees, all paid for out of my own pocket. I can say with a clear conscience that I did right by Lin Jing, guiding and protecting him every step of the way as he grew up. Just before I died, Ku Linjing snarled at me through gritted teeth. Why aren't you dead yet? If it weren't for you, I could have reunited with my father long ago. If it weren't for your existence, our family of 3 could have been living together all this time. Lin Jing never once mentioned all I had sacrificed for him, just as Jiyu Jinghuai now never mentions all the benefits I brought him. If it weren't for me, who asked for no bride price, contributed a dowry worth hundreds of thousands, and even paid for the wedding banquet out of my own pocket, how could he and his mother ever have held their heads high in front of all their relatives? So why is Jiyu Jinghuai so desperate to avoid a divorce now? Is it really me he wants, or is it something else? Not to mention my dowry, there was also that hefty sum of wedding gift money. Thinking of the gift money, I felt a wave of relief. I may be a hopeless romantic, but thankfully my parents were more shrewd. Right after the wedding, they took all the gift money straight to the bank and deposited it into my account. Seeing my expression soften, Jiyu Jinghuai probably thought I was taking his words to heart. His tone softened as he approached and took hold of my arm. "Bebe, please don't say such hurtful things in the heat of the moment again." "Okay," I coldly shook him off. "Jiyu Jinghuai, this isn't just a moment of anger. I want a divorce." "You." Jiyu Jinghuai was visibly upset. He got up and put his clothes back on. "Shenbeiyu, I don't want to argue with you on our wedding night. You need to think this over, alone." Without a backward glance, Jiyu Jinghuai walked out. He was convinced I was just throwing a tantrum and that if he gave me the cold shoulder, I'd eventually come around. I couldn't be bothered to argue, so I just locked the bedroom door from the inside. At 6 in the morning, heavy knocking started at the bedroom door. Jiyu Jinghuai's mother was outside, shouting at the top of her lungs. "Jinghuai, why did you lock the bedroom door all of a sudden? I told you not to lock it. Daughter-in-law. Get up now, it's time to make breakfast for the family." I paid no attention, deliberately set my phone to silent, buried my head in the pillow, and went back to sleep. In my past life, on our wedding night, Jiyu Jinghuai and I were up until the wee hours before we finally fell asleep. But the moment the clock struck 6, his mother barged right into our bedroom to wake me up. She expected me to make breakfast for her. "Now that you've married into the Jiyu family, you're one of us. Before, when you were still an outsider, we were polite out of courtesy, but you're family now, so we don't need to keep up formalities with you. Our Jiyu family has strict house rules. A daughter-in-law must rise early to cook for the whole household and then clean up." Before I married Jiyu Jinghuai, I was a pampered young lady who'd never lifted a finger to do a day's work. My hands were meant for sketching designs and sewing clothes. I had no experience with this kind of menial labor in my past life. Right after I married into the family, I suffered no end of torment from Jiyu Jinghuai's mother. Every time I complained, all I'd get from Jiyu Jinghuai was, "But she's my own mother." Seeing no other solution, I thought about hiring a nanny with my own money, but Jiyu Jinghuai's mother was dead set against it. "How can you not manage a little housework?" When I was pregnant with Jinghuai, I was still out in the fields doing farm labor. "Do you think money grows on trees? You're home all day not working. Can't you be a bit more frugal and ease some of Jinghuai's burden?" Those years of torment aged me in an instant, leaving my face lined with wrinkles and my hands calloused all over. Even the career I took such pride in came to a standstill when I later reunited with the radiant Lin Wanqing. I looked even older than she did, and she had already given birth. This time, I'm determined to steer clear of this abyss. I won't give a damn about her family's ridiculous rules. I didn't get out of bed until almost noon. As soon as I opened the bedroom door, Gu's mother, who had been sitting on the sofa, rushed over and pointed at me, shouting angrily, "What's wrong with you? It's only the second day of your marriage and you're already lazing in bed. How can you be so lazy? I didn't bring you into this house to be treated like royalty. Have you no sense of propriety? Hurry up and make the morning tea, then kneel and pay your respects properly, and look at this breakfast situation. What time do you think it is? I'm starving. Jinghuai has already left for work, and you're still lazing in bed. You didn't even make him a meal. Is this any way for a wife to behave? Shenbeiyu, are you even listening? You're part of the Jiyu family now, and you will abide by our family's rules." Hearing the same old script from my past life, I snorted in derision, slapped the old woman's hand away, and walked to the bathroom to wash up. After washing up, I put on a full face of makeup, then walked out of the Jiyu residence without a backward glance. Ignoring the mother's furious shouts, I took out my phone, ignored the dozen or so missed calls from Jiyu Jinghuai, scrolled to a number that had been sitting in my contacts for years, and dialed, "Lunan Chen, I saw your name on the sign-in sheet. You're back, aren't you? I heard you just started dating someone new, Lin Wanqing. Right, in my past life, Lin Wanqing came back around this time. I remember, she even held a fashion show. I looked it up online last night, and it was indeed during this period, after that fashion show in her previous life. Her popularity shot up several notches. Not long after returning abroad, she got married. Later, her spouse passed away young, and she inherited the majority of the estate. She then returned to China with Lin Jing to pursue her career. Lin Wanqing never spoke to me about her late husband, so in my previous life, I only knew his surname was Lu. I never even saw a photo of him. It wasn't until I was on my deathbed that I heard Lin Wanqing and Lin Jing mention a name, Lu Nanchen. No one knew that Lu Nanchen was my childhood sweetheart. After we graduated from high school, his whole family moved abroad. He confessed his feelings to me just before he left. But with us about to be separated by different countries, it was clear this romance was over before it even began. Later, when I was in university, I met Jiyu Jinghui again, and I lost touch with Lu Nanchen. I never imagined we would miss our chance like that. Yet, unexpectedly, they all became stepping stones that hindered the love between Jiyu Jinghui and Lin Wanqing. Besides, I remember Lu Nanchen was always in excellent physical condition. How could he have passed away so suddenly in the prime of his life? I dare not dwell too much on the details of this. Upon meeting Lu Nanchen, I got straight to the point. I know your new girlfriend. Her child is my new husband's son. I'm filing for divorce. It might get a bit messy. I hear she's preparing a fashion show. And you're the one bankrolling it. Perhaps you should reconsider. Lu Nanchen frowned and fell silent. I thought he didn't believe what I was saying. But then, to my surprise, he looked up and asked me, wouldn't getting a divorce so soon after marriage be bad for your reputation? Also, you must fight for your rightful interests. If it comes to filing for divorce, I can recommend a lawyer to you. And about your parents, if you're worried they'll be angry, I can talk to them for you. He seemed utterly unconcerned about who the father of Lin Wanqing's child was, or whether she loved him at all. His every thought was of me. I held back my tears and forced a light tone as I steered the conversation elsewhere. After catching up with Lu Nanchen, I headed back to the Jiyu family home first. I hadn't been back at the Jiyu residence for long before Jiyu Jinghui returned as well. Irritated, he tugged at his tie, pushed open the bedroom door, and walked straight to my vanity without even looking up. Baby, where's your bank card? Let me borrow it for a bit. I stopped what I was doing, stood up, and looked at him. What is it? Jiyu Jinghui searched the dressing table for a while but couldn't find it, so he had no choice but to explain to me. Wanqing is back in the country, right? She's planning to hold a fashion show here soon, but she just called me and said her main investor suddenly pulled their funding. But the invitations for her fashion show have already been sent out, and she's in desperate need of cash flow. Just let me use your bank card for a bit. I let out a bitter laugh. What does Lin Wanqing's personal business have to do with you? Besides, if this is your own personal crusade, why are you asking me for money to fund your good deed? In the end, you get all the credit, and I'll never see my money again. Jiyu Jinghui frowned, his expression turning displeased. Baby, how can you say that? We're husband and wife now. This is our shared property. What's the big deal if I use it? My heart skipped a beat as I suddenly remembered Jiyu Jinghui's promise to Lin Wanqing. When he married me, was it because he truly loved me? Or was he just after my money? In my past life, Jiyu Jinghui later managed to elbow his way into the circle with my family's support. Becoming a newly minted man of power, his family fortune was no less substantial than mine, yet he stubbornly kept up the deception, only revealing the truth to me on my deathbed, and since I left no will. My entire estate was destined to pass to Jiyu Jinghui. Thinking about it now, I feel even more foolish. To think I was completely at the mercy of Jiyu Jinghui and Lin Wanqing. I took a deep breath and fixed Jiyu Jinghui with a cold stare. I don't have the money. Jiyu Jinghui frowned. No money, how can that be? Didn't you have a dowry of several 100,000, and the red envelope money from yesterday's wedding must have been close to 1 million, right? Baby, Wanqing is your friend, after all. Was there really any need to say something so hurtful? I scoffed. Friend, I doubt my relationship with her is anywhere near as close as yours is. Jiyu Jinghui was taken aback, a flicker of panic crossing his face before he quickly composed himself. What on earth are you talking about, baby? I bent down and closed the lid of the already packed suitcase. I mean it, what I said about the divorce last night is real. I've already booked an appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau, next Friday. 9 a.m. Please don't be late. It seemed to dawn on Jiyu Jinghui only now that there wasn't a single trace of my belongings left on the vanity. He grabbed my arm in a panic, stopping me in my tracks. Shen Beiyu, are you serious? I raised an eyebrow at him and repeated. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau next Friday at 9 in the morning. I hadn't been out of the Jiyu residence for long before Jiyu Jinghui's mother called. She had gotten the news from Jiyu Jinghui and, completely reversing her attitude from that morning, was exceedingly polite to me on the phone, apologizing and trying to persuade me non-stop, but I could hear a great deal of resentment in her tone. They accused me of disregarding their family's reputation and of being immature. I couldn't be bothered to argue, so I just hung up and blocked the number. I went home and told my parents about my decision. They were upset too, but more than anything, they were relieved I had come to my senses in time. What about saving face? Respect is something you earn for yourself. After finishing my work, I immediately got in touch with my best friend Xu Yin, who's abroad. I plan to make a comeback and host my own fashion show. Lu Nanchen missed out on a money-making opportunity, so of course I'm going to help him make up for it, and I'm confident I can make him more money than Lin Wanqing ever could, back then. Lin Wanqing was always in my shadow, never able to make a name for herself. She went abroad to gild her resume, and suddenly she's hailed as some kind of genius designer. In my past life, if I hadn't given up my career for Jiyu Jinghui and become a full-time housewife, the title of genius designer probably wouldn't have gone to her anyway. Upon hearing the news, Xu Yin rushed back to the country overnight and began helping me design the fashion show. Fortunately, the timing of my rebirth was perfect. I had just gotten married. At that time, I hadn't completely given up on my career yet. In my past life, this was exactly the time I had planned to launch my own fashion show, but because of a single remark from Jiyu Jinghui, I gave up my career and returned to domestic life. I dug out my old design sketches at home and, together with Xu Yin, set up a studio. Every day was a whirlwind of non-stop work. Somehow, Jiyu Jinghui got wind of it and came straight to our studio. He arrived looking grim-faced and travel-worn, an umbrella in hand. The rhythmic patter of rain on the pristine white floor tiles made me instinctively frown. I have a thing about cleanliness, and Jiyu Jinghui knows it. He paid no mind to any of that now, his voice icy as he demanded, "Do you know Lu Nanchen?" No wonder Jiyu Jinghui had forgotten all pretense, coming to confront me in such a frantic rush. I didn't hide it either. Nodding in acknowledgement, "I know him. Why do you ask?" Jiyu Jinghui was visibly annoyed. "Why, don't you know that I'm the investor for Qingqing's fashion show? Did you say something to Lu Nanchen? You're the one who made him pull his funding, aren't you?" I raised an eyebrow and asked with a smile, "Do you have any proof, you?" Jiyu Jinghui choked up, his tone softening involuntarily. "Baby, let's not be upset, okay? You're an adult now. You should understand how important this show is for Qingqing." I coldly cut Jiyu Jinghui off. "I don't know. Furthermore, Jiyu Jinghui, you have no right to interrogate me, especially over someone who has nothing to do with me. If you have so much free time to worry about other people's business, then my suggestion is that you hurry up and divorce me. Once that's done, you can fuss over them all you want and no one will say a word." I stood up, promptly shoved him out of the studio, and then took a mop and scrubbed the floor where Jiyu Jinghui had walked several times over. I didn't stop until I'd spritzed the spot where he'd been standing with perfume several more times. Just sharing the same air with him made me feel sick to my stomach. After kicking Jiyu Jinghui out, he kept messaging me, using a mix of carrot and stick to coax me into investing money for Lin Wanqing. So, I just went ahead and sent 2 copies of the finished invitation to Jiyu Jinghui, one for him and one for Lin Wanqing. Jiyu Jinghui finally quieted down. The day before we were to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, Jiyu Jinghui called me, saying he wanted to discuss the divorce. I agreed, but at the cafe, I saw Lin Wanqing, along with a still very young Lin Jing. Lin Wanqing wept bitterly, tears streaming down her face as she poured out a litany of my wrongs, demanding to know why I was targeting her. "Beiyu, after all we've been through, why are you trying to trip me up? You already have a happy life. So why are you contacting my investor, and what exactly is your relationship with Lu Nanchen? I scoffed and shot back. Lu Nanchen, Bayu, what do you think our relationship is? The truth is, Lu Nanchen and I only share those names because our families were close back in the day. My mom and his mom were best friends. We were both pregnant and gave birth around the same time, so they gave us these names, but now that I think about it, they do sound a lot like couple names. Lin Wanqing and Jiyu Jinghuai were both stunned. Jiyu Jinghuai couldn't help but grab my hand and demand, "You dated Lu Nanchen, why did you never tell me?" I gave Jiyu Jinghuai a cold glance and smiled, "And when did you ever tell me?" It wasn't until I was on my deathbed in my past life that I finally learned Lin Wanqing was Jiyu Jinghuai's first love. They never mentioned it once back in university, but I'm not like them. I have no intention of keeping it from them, she said bluntly. Lu Nanchen and I grew up together. If you think about it, I could even be considered his first love, his white moonlight, and now, his white moonlight just happens to be launching a fashion show. Tell me, do you think he'll choose to invest in someone he just met, who also has a child in tow, or will he give that chance to the one he loved but could never have? Jiyu Jinghuai, you're a man too. You must understand the devastating power of a first love, a white moonlight, I said mockingly, not missing the look of embarrassment on Jiyu Jinghuai's face. Jiyu Jinghuai pursed his lips, silently lowering his head without a word. Lin Wanqing was a bit annoyed and nudged Jiyu Jinghuai with her shoulder. Getting the signal, Jiyu Jinghuai looked up again and began to lecture me. Bebe, even if you and Wanqing are both planning fashion shows, there's still a matter of who came first, right? Could you talk to Lu Nanchen and ask him to continue funding Wanqing's show? Your family's resources are substantial. Even without this particular investment, you could still pull off your show. Besides, didn't we agree that after marriage, you'd focus on the home and I'd handle things outside? Why this sudden whim to host your own show again? I said with a laugh. Well, that's because I'm planning on getting a divorce. Lin Wanqing was taken aback, looking at Jiyu Jinghuai with disbelief as she asked, "Are you two getting a divorce?" Jiyu Jinghuai once again fell silent, offering no response. Even though he now had neither money nor influence, that deep-seated pride and concern for face was simply in his bones. He was absolutely determined to keep Lin Wanqing in the dark about his impending divorce. After my rebirth, I looked into Lin Wanqing's past. She and Jiyu Jinghuai started dating in high school and later got into the same university. But they broke up not long after. The reason they broke up was because Lin Wanqing's family looked down on Jiyu Jinghuai. Later, Jiyu Jinghuai met me. I really can't tell now whether Jiyu Jinghuai confessed to me, dated me, and married me back then out of genuine affection, or if he was just acting out of spite, trying to prove a point. I used to be ashamed of my past life's foolishness, even disgusted by the person I was back then, but after recently picking my career back up, I've had a change of heart. Rather than dwelling on the person I used to be, I should focus on living a different life. As for Jiyu Jinghuai and Lin Wanqing, since they're so deeply in love, my divorce might actually be what brings them together. Isn't their child, Lin Jing, just blaming me for standing in the way of their happy little family? I just wonder if Jiyu Jinghuai, whose career has stalled and left him with nothing, and Lin Wanqing, who's about to fall from her peak, can still love each other as intimately as they did in their old age. I picked up where Lin Wanqing left off, smiling as I looked at Lin Jing beside her. That's right. We're going to the Civil Affairs Bureau for our divorce tomorrow. Didn't Jiyu Jinghuai tell you? Well, that's true. We're just filing the application tomorrow. There's still a 1-month cooling off period. He's probably still holding out hope. Jiyu Jinghuai, aren't you even curious about my reason for wanting a divorce? Jiyu Jinghuai suddenly looked up and asked me instinctively, "What is it?" I pointed at Lin Jing. "I think this child looks a lot like you. Tell you what. Why don't you go get a paternity test with him?" Jiyu Jinghuai was visibly shocked, and Lin Wanqing cried out even more urgently that they must not take the paternity test. Lin Wanqing gritted her teeth, shot Jiyu Jinghuai a glare, and left, leading Lin Jing by the hand. Jiyu Jinghuai remained seated, lost in thought, unwilling to waste any more time on him. I told him to meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau the next day and left. Early the next morning, I saw Jiyu Jinghuai already waiting at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. This is one thing I genuinely admire about Jiyu Jinghuai, He's always punctual and takes his promises seriously. I pulled the marriage certificate and other relevant documents from my bag. Gesturing for him to go inside, "You have your marriage certificate with you, right?" Jiyu Jinghuai looked at me with a heavy gaze, his answer evading the question. "You know, don't you?" I realized he was talking about Lin Jing, and nodded. "Yes, I know. Not only do I know Lin Jing is his child, but I also found out he got a vasectomy before the wedding, all for Lin Wanqing." I glanced at Jiyu Jinghuai and asked again, "You've got everything with you?" Silently, Jiyu Jinghuai pulled his ID card and marriage certificate out of his pocket. I turned my head away and went straight to get a number. Jiyu Jinghuai lowered his head, continuously stroking the marriage certificate in his hands, and said softly, "I'm sorry, Bebe. I know nothing I say now will make a difference. But I didn't mean to." Seeing that I remained silent, his tone grew urgent. "I have no feelings for Wanqing anymore. That time was just a mistake." She called me, saying she was going abroad and wanted me to keep her company. We drank too much that night, and didn't use protection. She only found out she was pregnant after going abroad. By the time I knew, the child was already born. "Bebe, the child is innocent, but I truly do love you. I know how it looks. I have nothing to offer right now, and insisting on marrying you while keeping this secret, it must seem like I'm only after your money. Otherwise, you wouldn't have specifically outlined the asset division in the divorce agreement, but I signed it, didn't I? I never wanted your money, not for a second. Bebe, can you ever forgive me? Please, just give me one more chance. Once I get my career on track and find success, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I promise." "You know I always keep my promises." I looked quietly at Jiyu Jinghuai and gave a soft laugh. He truly is a man who values his promises. In my past life, I was by his side as he built his business, and he amassed a fortune worth hundreds of millions. True to his word, he was always very good to me. Does he love me? Perhaps he did once. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been good to me for decades. Is he after my money? I think he probably is. Without me and my family's support, how could he have achieved success so effortlessly? For someone as selfish as Jiyu Jinghuai, there seems to be no conflict between love and a desire for money. Seeing me smile, Jiyu Jinghuai wanted to continue speaking. Just then, it was our turn. I snatched the documents from Jiyu Jinghuai's hand and handed them over to the clerk. The clerk asked us the reason for our divorce. I said calmly, "He's impotent. He had a child with his first love, and then went and got a vasectomy right before our wedding." Jiyu Jinghuai was completely stunned when he heard me say that. The staff couldn't help but look up and size up this oddball. Jiyu Jinghuai. Jiyu Jinghuai was still in a daze. Even as the staff finished the paperwork and handed it to me, I shoved his documents into his hand. "See you in a month. I'll send you the exact time." After filing for divorce, I felt like a whole new person. I even found more motivation for work than before. I heard from Xu Yin that Lin Wanqing's fashion show actually went ahead. Jiyu Jinghuai was the one who sorted out the funding for her. Word is, Jiyu Jinghuai took out a loan. TSK, back when Jiyu Jinghuai was so good to you. I really thought he was your perfect match. Turns out he's just nice to everyone. I was non-committal. Jiyu Jinghuai always believed that the people around me didn't approve of us being together. But that wasn't entirely true. My friends have all seen how good he is to me, and they've told me how much he truly loves me. My parents do have their reservations about him, but it's his family background and his difficult mother they take issue with. They don't actually have that much of a problem with him personally. Otherwise, why would they have been willing to spend so much on my wedding? When I first came back to this life, I kept wondering if Jiyu Jinghuai was just like those social climbing men, only after my money, or even if he and Lin Wanqing were setting a trap for me. But as I calmed down and sorted through the past, I could only conclude that Jiyu Jinghuai was a complex man. He was both selfish and remarkably generous. His selfishness was an instinct, always putting his own interests first. Yet, he was a man of his word, fulfilling his promises with a magnanimous spirit that extended to everyone. Human nature is inherently complex. Even after decades of knowing him, I still can't quite figure him out. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Xu Yin nudged me again. "Hey, did you hear what I just said?" I looked up and asked, what is it? That fashion show Lin Wanqing put on was a total mess. A complete waste of money. I pursed my lips and looked it up online. It really was a disaster. maybe after leaving Lu Nanchen, she couldn't even get a single well-known model to show up. The set design was a mess, and the layout was poorly planned. Many people began to question whether her genius designer title was something she had simply bought. After more than half a month, my fashion show finally launched. Although I sent invitations to Jiyu Jinghuai and Lin Wanqing, neither of them showed up. What a shame they all missed this brilliant moment of my success. After that fashion show, my name was back in the game. Meanwhile, Lin Wanqing's name gradually faded from the public eye. Once I wrapped up all that, the cooling-off period was upon me before long. I scheduled a time and sent it to Jiyu Jinghuai. Jiyu Jinghuai has been much quieter lately. It's probably because I publicly called him out on his business at the Civil Affairs Bureau, which embarrassed him. It also made him face reality. When we were finalizing the paperwork, Jiyu Jinghuai was unusually quiet, no longer trying to persuade me to stay like he did last time. The moment I got the divorce certificate, I happily took a photo and posted it on my social media. Jiyu Jinghuai just gave me a quiet look, wished me happiness, and then left, but not long after. Xu Yin told me that Jiyu Jinghuai and Lin Wanqing had gotten their marriage license. There's still a wedding banquet to be held. I can't say I'm all that surprised. It's hardly a shock that two former lovers, both down on their luck and with a child binding them together, would rekindle their old flame. I'm just a bit curious. With Jiyu Jinghuai barely making a few thousand a month now and saddled with debt, how on earth does he plan to pay for a wedding banquet? But I figured it out soon enough. I have no idea where Xu Yin dug it up, but she actually sent me a video from the day Jiyu Jinghuai and Lin Wanqing held their wedding banquet. Their so-called banquet turned out to be just a trip back to Jiyu Jinghuai's hometown for a simple meal with his relatives around a single table. And Jiyu Jinghuai's mother certainly didn't miss her chance to be the center of attention. In front of all the relatives, she loudly demanded that Lin Wanqing kneel down and kowtow to serve her tea. She kept laying down the law, going on and on about the Jiyu family's rules and how a daughter-in-law of the Jiyu family should behave. I just don't understand why the old lady is so hung up on these outdated, feudal conventions. It's not like the Qing dynasty is still around. Lu Nanchen has been by my side this whole time, helping me handle all sorts of things. He's even the one who had a lawyer draft my divorce papers for me. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was busy with the fashion show. And I figured he just wanted me focused on making money for him. But now the fashion show is over, and he's made a killing from it. He shows no sign of leaving. I couldn't help but want to ask him. But Xu Yin pulled me aside instead, scolding me for my lack of tact. Can't you see he's still in love with you? In love with me? I instinctively wanted to argue back, but then it suddenly hit me. I was no longer that housewife worn down by the years, yet. I wasn't sure if I had the courage to step into a new relationship. Lu Nanchen sensed my hesitation. He didn't say anything about it, just quietly stayed by my side. He even dropped by my place from time to time. Eventually, even my parents were urging me to just say yes to the guy. But Lu Nanchen wasn't in any hurry at all. Instead, he asked if I wanted to go abroad for a trip. Thinking about it, I realized I'd been non-stop busy since I got back, without taking a proper break to enjoy myself. So I agreed with Lu Nanchen. Lu Nanchen was over the moon and rushed off to help me with my visa application. Once the paperwork came through, we finalized our travel dates. Just before our departure, I was unexpectedly contacted by someone. I arrived at the cafe, but this time, only Lin Wanqing was there. She tossed the divorce papers in front of me with chilling composure. I'm divorced from Jiyu Jinghuai. I was taken aback. They were so inseparable, so madly in love, that even in their old age they had to come flaunt it at my hospital bedside, just to spite me. It's only been a few months, and she's already divorced Jiyu Jinghuai. I raised an eyebrow and couldn't help but ask, "What about your child?" Lin Wanqing frowned, visibly annoyed. That burden, I gave him back to his father. Jiyu Jinghuai is just as useless. All he does is make empty promises. He can't even afford to buy me a bag. I've found myself a European nobleman. I'm flying back to Europe with him next week, Shenbeiyu. So what if your family is better off than mine? I still came out on top. It finally dawned on me. The only reason she asked me out today was to flaunt her success in my face. I offered her a congratulatory smile and then got up and left. Exchanging even one more word with someone like her is a waste of my time. She and Jiyu Jinghuai are actually quite similar. Both are incredibly selfish, for Lin Wanqing. The child is merely a tool, a means to threaten Jiyu Jinghuai and make him willingly give her money. With Jiyu Jinghuai having no money, there's no longer any need to keep this tool around. I had just stepped out of the cafe when Jiyu Jinghuai, for once, actually called me. The moment I answered, he asked me out of the blue, "Did she tell you everything?" Before I could even respond, Jiyu Jinghuai said, his voice agitated on the other end of the line, "Bebe, I was wrong, that child isn't mine at all. Lin Wanqing's child is not Jiyu Jinghuai's. I got a paternity test done. He's not my son. I was such a fool. I actually did all that for her. But Bebe, it's okay, I've already had the reversal surgery at the hospital. Once I've recovered, let's get remarried, okay? Have a child with me, our own child, okay? Bebe, I know you still love me, don't you? I still love you too. Let's get back together." I pursed my lips, unable to hold back a laugh. I truly never imagined the truth would be even more absurd than I had thought. All because of Lin Wanqing's selfishness, Jiyu Jinghuai foolishly kept his promise, ruining not only his own life but mine as well. Looking back now, it seems Jiyu Jinghuai in my past life had it even worse than I did. I cut him off with a cold laugh. "Jiyu Jinghuai, I don't love you. You should go find someone who does to have your children." I hung up the phone and blocked and deleted Jiyu Jinghuai for good. Right at that moment, Lu Nanchen sent me a message. "Were you on a call with someone?" I couldn't get through. Pouting, "JPG." I smiled as I made the video call, looking at Lu Nanchen with his slightly disheveled hair. Clearly, he had been wrestling with something just moments before, constantly running his hands through his hair. My smile deepened. "Lu Nanchen, will you come pick me up and take me home?" Story 2, when the application was approved, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. My fingertips couldn't stop trembling, and my eyes were red, but I didn't even notice it. No one knew that I was reborn, 21 years old, the second before I confessed to Li Yuli. That day, I wore the dress he spent a lot of money to customize for me, and booked the most luxurious hotel in northern Beijing. I invited many friends to witness the beginning of our love. Li Yuli has been by my side since I can remember. My parents are doctors without borders and their whereabouts are uncertain. I met them very few times a year. Li Yuli spent almost the first half of my life with me, happy and unhappy. Everyone in the circle tacitly agreed that I was Li Yuli's child bride. In the previous life, a few good friends knew that I was going to confess and gave me a lot of advice, which made me blush. I was secretly looking forward to it in my heart. But no one expected that Li Yuli would reject me. Just like in the last life, Li Yuli seemed to have guessed what I was going to do. His brows were slightly furrowed, and 2 fingers were rubbing the words that were brewing to reject me. The emotion in his eyes was unclear. At that time, I thought Li Yuli was just worried that I was younger than him and couldn't distinguish love, so I smiled and said, "Uncle, I like you. When I see you, my heart will beat faster unconsciously. When I can't see you, I will miss you madly. It's an emotion that I can't suppress no matter what. I am sure that I love you." Others followed suit and ended in a mess, and I was still smiling that day, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. When he was about to speak, I took a step ahead. "Uncle, the research project I conquered for a year ended last week. I'm very happy, so I want to celebrate." Li Yuli was stunned. My friends also looked at each other and were about to speak. I glanced at them lightly. They smiled awkwardly and silently put the banner promise her in their hands behind them. A confession ended in vain. After the show, Li Yuli and his friend smoked in the corridor. He leaned against the wall, playing with the golden relief lighter with his bony hands. The flame flickered. His friend laughed teasingly. "I thought Xiao Yu was going to confess to you today. I didn't expect it to be a false alarm." Li Yuli closed his eyes lightly with a faint smile on his lips. "Don't guess what a little girl is thinking. I don't have any other intentions towards Jinyu. I take care of her just because of my friendship with her family." His friend didn't believe it. "You are the one who is in the dark. Look at the look in your little girl's eyes. Do you think we are stupid? If you are really innocent, why did you go to warn the little boy when he confessed his love to your little girl? He even pretended to be her boyfriend." Li Yuli didn't say anything. I didn't listen anymore and retreated into the darkness. Li Yuli was like this in my previous life. He had been too good to me, but he was unwilling to admit it. After returning home, submitted an application for Doctors Without Borders. after my parents died in the war zone. I wanted to inherit their legacy. It's just that my previous life ended before I could even start. Luckily, God took pity on me and gave me a chance to start over. I looked at the time of the report and the calendar next to me. I took out a pen and silently marked the day of the report. Coincidentally, that day was Lee Yuli's birthday. Suddenly, there was a knock on my door. It was Lee Yuli. He knocked twice as usual and came in, but this time there was a girl following him. The girl was sitting in a wheelchair, wearing a white dress. Her face was pale, and there was a hint of melancholy in her eyes. She looked so fragile. "Jinyu, come here," he said to me. I didn't move, but just glanced at the girl. She was Fang Yueshi. I thought there was no confession from me. Lee Yuli would not bring her to me, but I didn't expect that what was supposed to happen would still happen. "Jinyu." Lee Yuli frowned and called me again. Seeing my indifferent expression, Fang Yueshi lowered her eyes and said softly, "Yuli, it's okay. It's normal that Miss Shen didn't like me when we first met. If she minds my presence, I'll just go back to the suburban villa. I don't have legs, so I can't go anywhere. I can live anywhere." "You don't have to live here," she said, tears in her eyes, but they didn't fall. She was like a delicate little flower, pretending to be strong. Lee Yuli frowned even deeper, and there was a bit of disappointment in his eyes when he looked at me. "Jinyu, uncle. Whoever you want to arrange to live in the villa can live in the villa. And you don't need to tell me. You are the master of this house." My voice was very flat, and no one could hear any clues. But it was full of thorns when it fell into Lee Yuli's ears. He thought I was throwing a tantrum. "Jinyu, you don't have to talk to me in this tone. I brought Yueshi to see you today because I want you to meet your young aunt. She lost both legs to save me in the earthquake 3 years ago. I need to be responsible for her if you still want to stay in this family. Put away your temper and don't bother Yueshi." He glanced at me with a warning. I wanted to speak, but I remained silent in the end. In fact, I can't blame him. I have an extreme possessiveness towards Lee Yuli. From childhood to adulthood, I hope that he only has eyes for me and the only female companion around him is me. So over the years, he has not had any scandals. Even if a woman dares to touch porcelain, I will deal with it. All his preferences and exceptions are me. So in the last life, when he wanted to marry Fang Yueshi, I collapsed. Do I have to repay the life-saving grace with my body? I thought about it for a long time. It cost me my life. I still can't figure it out. But now I have figured it out. Some things are just hard to figure out. Fang Yueshi is going to live here. The room next to Lee Yuli was once mine. Before Lee Yuli took me in, he secretly asked his friends for advice, and then drew the blueprints himself and renovated the whole room. It was turned into a beautiful pink princess house. He also bought a lot of limited edition dolls and placed them at the head of my bed. He raised me like a princess. From childhood to adulthood, he always said, as long as it is something that Jinyu likes and can make Jinyu happy, I will do it. I hope our Jinyu grows up healthy and becomes a happy little princess. At that time, his eyes were full of gentle and affectionate love. It made me fall, but he stayed out of it from beginning to end. In the room, Lee Yuli leaned against the doorframe, glanced at me coldly, and said, "I asked Aunt Chen to clean up the guest room on the first floor. You can stay on the first floor for the time being." I didn't say anything, but folded all the clothes and put them in the suitcase. When I stood up and habitually took the doll on the bedside, my hand stopped. Lee Yuli's eyes also moved to the doll, and saw that I didn't move for a long time. He said, "I'll take the doll down for you later." I took a deep breath, retracted my gaze, and smiled. "No. Give it to my aunt, Lee Yuli. I don't want it anymore. What are a few dolls?" It was sincere before, but it's nothing now. "Jinyu, are you still angry with me?" Lee Yuli asked coldly. "Why should I be angry with my uncle?" I asked back. "My uncle also has his own life. Now you have someone you like and want to protect. I should be happy for you, right?" Lee Yuli's eyes darkened, his thin lips opened and closed, but he couldn't make a sound. When I left with my suitcase, Fang Yueshi was not far from the door, and she looked at me with a bit of sarcasm, just like in the last life. She pretended to be a white lotus on the surface, but in fact she was targeting me everywhere and cried at the slightest disagreement. The tears of the weak are always easy to win sympathy. "Miss Shin, I'm sorry for you. If it wasn't inconvenient for me, Yuli wouldn't do this. My hand holding the lever tightened, and when I wanted to pass her and leave directly, she suddenly grabbed my wrist, and I shook it off reflexively. Fang Yueshi's wheelchair fell down the stairs uncontrollably, screaming. And the servants in the villa rushed over. Yuli, save me, save me. Li Yuli heard the words. She ran out of the room in panic, pushed me away, and rushed over to grab the handrail to prevent the wheelchair from rolling down. I was stunned and my throat was tight. It's not me. The wheelchair was stuck on the stairs, and several servants blocked the road. Li Yuli quickly picked up Fang Yueshi and walked in front of me. The servants also cooperated to move the wheelchair over. Yuli, I was scared to death. I thought I was going to die. Her eyes were all red, and the fear in her eyes could not be faked. After Li Yuli comforted Fang Yueshi, she looked at me angrily. Shen Jinyu, are you crazy? If Yueshi really gets into trouble, you will be suspected of murder. Do you know that? I bit my lower lip, feeling aggrieved and my nose sour. I didn't, it wasn't me. She suddenly grabbed my hand, and I just shook it off. Fang Yueshi heard this and said in a crying voice, it's my fault. Yuli, don't blame Miss Shen. It's because I didn't lock the wheelchair just now that this happened. Yueshi, you don't have to speak for Jinyu anymore, Li Yuli said coldly. I know what her temper is. All the women who have been close to me in these years have been driven away by her tricks. I couldn't help laughing, with tears in the corners of my eyes. So uncle, you don't believe me, right? Are you worthy of my trust? He asked back. Yes, I'm not worthy. Only Fang Yueshi is worthy. You believe whatever she says. As soon as I finished speaking, I pulled the suitcase to leave. Li Yuli asked the servant to stop me, and he said, apologize. I turned back to look at Li Yuli in disbelief. He repeated, Yueshi was wronged for no reason. You should apologize. What if I don't? I asked with tears in my eyes. I thought I could face such a scene again, and I would be able to face it calmly. But I still overestimated myself. When all the favoritism in the past turned into a sharp sword and stabbed me, it really hurts. You know my methods, Li Yuli said coldly. He looked at the servants behind me, and the servants looked at each other and were about to press my shoulders forward. I sneered at myself. I let go of the hand holding the suitcase and bowed to apologize to Fang Yueshi. I was wrong about this matter today. I shouldn't have shaken you off when you grabbed my hand. I'm sorry for almost making you fall. Fang Yueshi was stunned for 2 seconds, and Li Yuli's expression became solemn. I stood up and looked at Li Yuli. Uncle, is it okay? If not, kneel down, I said. Li Yuli's eyes were full of emotions, but he said nothing in the end. I went downstairs with my suitcase. As soon as I reached the first floor, Aunt Chen said, Mister, maybe in a bad mood today. Miss, don't bother with Mister. We have seen how much Mister loves you over the years. She spoke for Li Yuli and tried to take my suitcase for me. I just smiled. I used to quarrel with Li Yuli. Aunt Chen always acted as a peacemaker, and she has been the same for so many years. But Li Yuli and I can no longer go back to the past. Miss, aren't you going to the guest room? She asked me in surprise. I shook my head. No, but sir, tell my uncle that I thank him for taking care of me. I won't bother him anymore. This life, that's all. I don't want to bear the pain of the last life anymore. After Li Yuli arranged for Fang Yueshi, he called Chen Ma and brought up the surveillance footage in the corridor. When Chen Ma came over, she was hesitant to speak. In fact, he believed in Shen Jinyu, although she had used small tricks to keep those women away from him over the years, but they were all insignificant. She knew what the bottom line was, so when he saw from the surveillance that it was Fang Yueshi who took the initiative to provoke Shen Jinyu, he didn't react much. He owed Fang Yueshi a life. As long as Fang Yueshi didn't go too far, he could let her do anything. I said, how could a lady hurt someone? Chen Ma said indignantly. Li Yuli rubbed his brows. Let's make something that Jinyu likes tonight. But the lady has left. Li Yuli was stunned. What? The lady asked me to tell you that she is grateful for your care in the past. She will not bother you again in the future. Mrs. Chen said it in a somewhat sarcastic tone. Li Yuli did not blame her, but just sighed tiredly. Jinyu has this temper. She can't stand any grievances. He asked Mrs. Chen to go out and prepare dinner first. He called Shen Jinyu, but Shen Jinyu didn't answer. He became more and more irritated and finally threw the phone on the desk. In fact, it started from half a month ago when he thought Shen Jinyu was going to confess to him. He began to feel inexplicably irritated. especially when he met Shinjinua's eyes and always heard her indifferent tone. He always felt as if something was out of control. Now, it seems that all the answers are about to come out. Li Yuli was able to find me. I was not surprised. There were still 7 days before reporting. And I returned to my home after leaving the villa. Li Yuli stood outside the yard, with scarlet flickering between his fingers and his brows furrowed. I saw him just after returning from the hospital, off work. I nodded and said nothing more. The surroundings suddenly fell into a dead silence. He was waiting for me to continue speaking, but I actually had nothing to say, until his cell phone rang. It was Fang Yueshi's call. Li Yuli did not avoid me and swiped the answer button on the spot. Her weak crying came from the other side. Yuli, I had a nightmare. I dreamed of the earthquake, and I dreamed that I couldn't save you. Can you come back to accompany me? She asked cautiously. Li Yuli subconsciously looked at me. It was already dark at this time. I looked down at the elongated shadow on the ground with a calm expression. After a long time, I heard him say, "I'll be back soon." The phone was hung up. Li Yuli took the opportunity to hold my hand, but I frowned and avoided him. And his movements froze. When he looked at me, his eyes were a little more confused. He probably forgot. The reason why we were so close in the past was because I regarded him as my sweetheart. "Uncle, you have an aunt now. Let's not cross the line between us." My tone was indifferent, and Li Yuli sneered, withdrew his hand and pretended to be calm and put it in his pocket. "I know you can't accept what's going on between me and Yueshi for a while, but it doesn't matter. I can wait until you can accept it before getting engaged to her. Now just treat it as you getting familiar with each other and adapting." I didn't speak, and was silent, since Fang Yueshi appeared in the last life. Li Yuli and I have never had a good talk. We quarreled as soon as we met. He scolded me for being shameless and falling in love with my uncle. He also said that I couldn't distinguish between family affection and love. He pushed me away step by step, but I faced the challenge like a copper wall and an iron wall. Even if I was stabbed all over by all the vicious words, my friends, his friends, they all advised me, "Li Yuli doesn't like you. Why don't you believe it? He likes Fang Yueshi." I cried every time and said, "No, Li Yuli loves me." On the day I became an adult at the age of 18, he thought I was asleep and kissed me secretly. He said that he would marry me when I was 22 years old. I always believed that Li Yuli wanted to marry Fang Yueshi just to repay his kindness. Until that day, the Xiao family wanted to take me away from the bar. I had no contact with the Xiao family and didn't understand why they wanted to arrest me. Until Xiao Lao said that Xiao Lao had a cerebral infarction, I suddenly realized. Li Yuli once said that the people of the Xiao family, he came to me and said that the Xiao family had dirty hands and asked me to keep a distance from them. But I never knew that the Xiao family came to me because of Mr. Xiao. They sincerely asked me to perform the operation. I cried and refused to leave. My white knuckles tightly grasped the corner of Li Yuli's clothes, but he said coldly, "Let go." He watched me being dragged away coldly and watched my fingers being broken one by one. He listened to my heart-wrenching screams. He didn't even frown. At that moment, I finally confirmed that Li Yuli didn't love me. "What are you thinking about?" Li Yuli's voice sounded. It brought me back to my thoughts. "You should have made enough trouble these days. The last thing is over. Jinyu, you are not a child anymore." After the voice fell, he opened the door of the co-pilot and looked at me. I stood there without moving, with an ugly smile on my face. I suddenly wanted to ask Li Yuli in my previous life, why could he be so cruel to watch me suffer, depressed, and die of depression? Even if he doesn't love me, I am still his niece who has been raised since childhood. "Uncle, you were right that day. Any woman who appeared by your side in these years would be driven away by my little tricks, so for the safety of my aunt, I won't go back." Li Yuli frowned. "Shinjinyu, uncle. You know I like you, right?" I interrupted Li Yuli calmly. His pupils shrank suddenly. "My love has never been concealed in these years, and anyone who is not blind can know it. I believe Li Yuli knows it too." "Jinyu," he looked at me embarrassedly. "Don't worry, uncle, I won't do that again. I was ignorant before and mistook family affection for love, which made me laugh a lot. Now I've stopped the loss in time. I hope you'll forgive me." After I finished speaking, I smiled again. Li Yuli stood there blankly as if his soul had been taken away, as if the few words I just said were difficult to understand. He opened his lips and was about to speak. The phone in his pocket rang again. It was particularly harsh in the silent night, one after another. He seemed to have not come back to his senses yet, but I had already taken 2 steps back and turned to leave. Li Yuli looked at Shinjinua's gradually blurred back, and suddenly felt a little confused. He habitually took out a cigarette box from his pocket and lit another cigarette. He took a deep puff before he came back to his senses a little. He raised his head. The lights in the room on the 2nd floor of the villa were on, and Shinjinua's figure was reflected on the curtain. 3 years ago, Shinjinu was 18 years old. On the day of his coming-of-age ceremony, he was drunk and entered Shinjinua's room in a daze, looking at the sleeping little girl. The moment he was drunk, he kissed Shinjinu for the first time, crossing the line. The little girl seemed to have had a beautiful dream. With a smile on her lips, he and the Shin family are old friends, and he is 7 years older than Shinjinu. From childhood to adulthood, although he acquiesced to Shinjinua's crossing the line, he always reminded her not to confuse family affection with love. Don't mistake dependence for love. Shinjinu didn't love him, and he didn't either. He let Shinjinu act as a child bride, first to dispel those ignorant yellow-haired people, and second to reduce some peach scandals around him. Shinjinu alone was enough to give him a headache, but when he saw that there were similar examples around him and they didn't end well, he backed off. A relationship that has changed cannot be restored to its original point. Fortunately, it should not be started. After he came to his senses, he went to Hong Kong on a business trip the next day. He did not expect to encounter an earthquake, and he was saved by a girl of his age. The girl was a dancer, and because of him, she lost her legs and dreams, and guilt and self-blame lingered in his heart. It was not difficult for him to support another girl with his financial resources. He supported her for 3 years. And no one knew about this except his assistant. The reason was simple: he was afraid that Shinjinu would make trouble and cause trouble for Fang Yueshi. This time, he brought Fang Yueshi back to Jingbei, firstly to promise his original request to marry her, and secondly, he knew that Shinjinu was going to confess to him. He wanted Shinjinu to give up when they knew it was difficult. They should not have crossed the line, and there was no future. But now, Shinjinu backed out, but he began to regret it. When Li Yuli returned to the villa, Fang Yueshi was sitting in the living room waiting for him. She was wearing thin clothes. The night in Beijing North was particularly cold. After waiting all night, her hands were already frozen. "Why don't you go back to the room?" Li Yuli asked with a frown. Fang Yueshi pursed her lips and looked down at her phone. "I called you many times, but you didn't answer. I'm worried about you, Yueshi." Li Yuli walked to the side of the sofa, then sat down and looked straight at Fang Yueshi. There was no warmth in his eyes. She raised her head. "Jinyu was raised by me. She has been following me all these years. Her temper was also spoiled by me. I told you when you decided to follow me, I owe you a life. You can give me anything to pay it back, but you can't touch Jinyu." As he said that, Fang Yueshi's eyes suddenly turned red. She looked at Li Yuli aggrievedly. "Yuli, do you suspect that I hurt Miss Shin?" Li Yuli didn't say much. Only one sentence was left: "For Jinu's safety, there are many surveillance cameras in the villa." Fang Yueshi was stunned and didn't react for a long time. She thought that Li Yuli was on her side that day and believed her. But she didn't expect that her little trick had been seen through. After Li Yuli went upstairs, he didn't go back to his room. Instead, he went to Shinjinu's previous room, after Fang Yueshi moved in. Everything in Shinjinu's room changed. The dolls that Shinjinu once cherished were put away, and the beautiful and cute decorations were replaced with simple ornaments. Mother Chen, Li Yuli called Mother Chen in. Mother Chen came over quickly and saw Li Yuli sitting at the desk and asked, "Sir, what's wrong?" He was about to speak, and his eyes inadvertently fell on the desk calendar in the gap of the desk. He bent down to pick it up. When he saw that the number 28 on the calendar was circled by a black fountain pen, he was stunned for a moment. Chen's mother also saw it with her sharp eyes. "Isn't this your birthday, sir?" I said. "How could the lady really be angry with the sir?" Hearing this, Li Yuli's mouth corners inadvertently pursed, and his fingertips rubbed the desk calendar. After a long silence, he put the desk calendar back. With a slightly happy tone, he said, "Renovate the guest room downstairs according to this pattern. Let Yueshi live on the first floor, clean up here, or follow the appearance of Jinyu's original room. I'll pick her up in a few days." Chen's mother smiled and agreed, and Fang Yueshi, who was just at the door of the room, turned pale instantly. There are still 5 days before reporting. My handover work has basically been completed, but I didn't expect Fang Yueshi to come to the hospital specifically to find me. After just a few days of not seeing her, she has become more like a broken beauty. Is there something you want to talk to me about? I put away the medical records in my hand and asked her. Fang Yueshi sat in a wheelchair, and the disgust in her eyes was exposed. No more pretending. She looked at me. Shen Jinyu. Yu Li and I are about to get engaged. Can you stay away from Yu Li, being a mistress who interferes with other people's feelings? Is this the family education in your family? My hand touching the pen paused, raised my eyelids and looked at the woman in front of me, with a sneer on the corner of my lips. Miss Fang, you'd better keep your mouth clean. I keep my mouth clean. That also requires you to do things cleanly. Shen Jinyu, don't think I don't know that everyone knows that you like Shen Jinyu. You are moving out of the Li family now just to play hard to get. I tell you, Li Yuli doesn't like you. He will never like you in this life. He can't like his little niece. Fang Yueshi became more and more excited as she spoke. I couldn't help but sneer. In my last life, Fang Yueshi and I had hardly ever been alone together. I knew she was not a good person. She was like me, and would do anything for her lover. The calculations in her eyes and the tricks she played were all the things I was tired of playing in my last life. But I forgot at that time. Only when you are about to lose something will you desperately try every means to catch it. In my last life, she provoked me with a few words, and even if I fought with her and was bruised all over, Li Yuli was unmoved. But in this life, I did nothing. But Li Yuli was happy to do it. These days, Li Yuli would send me messages from time to time. And he told me that my room was returned to me. It was intact, nothing had changed, and it was exactly the same as when I left. Just like before, he would order afternoon tea for me without fail. Do you think Li Yuli loves me? No. I also know that there are surveillance cameras in the villa. Li Yuli is a person who would not fail to check, but he did not react after checking. It can only mean that he acquiesced to Fang Yueshi bullying me. The change now is that he is not used to my leaving, that's all. There was a long silence. I said, I can't like him anymore. Fang Yueshi. Fang Yueshi was suddenly stunned, and her originally excited emotions slowly calmed down. What did you say? I admit that Li Yuli was very good in the past. From childhood to adulthood, whenever I was wronged, he would support me. He was afraid that I would cry and that I would be unhappy. Except for my parents, he is the best person in the world to me, so it is natural for me to like him. But that day he saw me crying, but forced me to apologize to you, and I no longer like him. Fang Yueshi seemed a little confused, looking at me with slightly red eyes. Just because of this, I nodded. Just because of this, if the person I like is willing to let me cry and let me be wronged, then he is not someone worthy of my love. Before Fang Yueshi left that day, she asked me again, is it true that no matter what Li Yuli does, you will not like him anymore? I replied, yes, even if he died for me, I would not like him anymore. The night before reporting, as I was about to board the plane, Li Yuli sent me a message, I will pick you up later. I did not reply. The other party was still typing, and there was no follow-up. As I was about to put away my phone, Li Yuli's voice call popped up, and his voice was somewhat relaxed and cheerful. Jinyu, I will pick you up later. There may be some traffic jams. I did not answer. He was indeed on the way. The sound of horns on the road came over, and at this time the boarding announcement sounded again. The other party's breathing was obviously stagnant, after being stunned for 2 seconds. He asked in a very soft voice, Jinyu, are you at the airport? Yes. Why are you at the airport? Are you going on a business trip? Why didn't you tell me? Did you forget that tomorrow is my day? Uncle, I interrupted Li Yuli in a flat tone, and he was silent. I said again, I am going to walk the path my parents have walked, and I don't know when I will return. Thank you for your care over the years, Uncle. After rebirth, I thought about revenge on Li Yuli, and let him taste the pain of having his fingers broken. I also thought about dragging those who hurt me to die together, but my life is so long, why should it be limited to love, hate, and vengeance? Li Yuli used to treat me wholeheartedly. It was true, let's just call it a draw. So now, I don't love or hate. Why? Why so suddenly? After a long time, he asked me. I didn't answer, and he said, Jinyu, if you are here because of Yueshi, I can explain. I can let her go, but you can't leave. His tone was urgent, and the horn in the car was shrill. Jinyu, can you wait for me? Wait for me. I'll be there soon. No, it's too late. I laughed softly and hung up the phone. After the phone was turned off, the haze that weighed on my heart finally dissipated. Finally, everything came to an end. Li Yuli looked at the hung-up call and kept dialing. But in the end he only got a cold mechanical sound. Shen Jinyu turned off his phone. At this moment he was more sober than ever. Shen Jinyu really didn't want him anymore. When he realized this fact, he punched the steering wheel out of control and violently loosened his tie. The pain in his heart was suffocating, and he couldn't relieve it even if he gasped for air. He was about to call his assistant to check Shen Jinyu's flight. Fang Yueshi called again. Her voice was filled with tears. And she was begging him not to let her go. These days, he figured out a lot of things. The life-saving grace does not have to be paid in return. He can give Fang Yueshi enough money to ensure that she has no worries about food and clothing in this life, and she can give her whatever she wants, only his heart. He never realized how much Shen Jinyu occupied in his heart, until now, when Shen Jinyu left, he realized that he had almost left his whole heart, the girl who would cry at him, laugh at him, and make trouble at him. He always reminded Shen Jinyu in the tone of an elder not to confuse love. But he, after loving for more than 10 years, couldn't tell love from love. At this time, he couldn't wait to find Shen Jinyu. He wanted to tell her that he loved her, very much. He was wrong before. And he won't do it again. After checking Shen Jinyu's flight, Li Yuli immediately booked a ticket, and when he was about to drive to the airport, he collided with a truck. He was in a car accident and was in a coma for a whole week. When he woke up, Fang Yueshi was the only one beside him. When Fang Yueshi met his gaze, she panicked unusually. Li Yuli's eyes suddenly became as cold as a pond, cold and compelling. She trembled and said, "Yuli, are you feeling unwell?" Li Yuli didn't say anything. After unlocking the phone, he saw that the person who had been pinned to the top had lost contact for a week, and a mocking smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. His eyes became inexplicably empty. While he was in a coma, he had a very long dream. He dreamed that after Shen Jinyu confessed to him, he took Fang Yueshi home and told her that this was her little aunt. She dreamed that Shen Jinyu quarreled with him again and again, saying that she loved him, and fighting wits and courage with Fang Yueshi. Then she saw Shen Jinyu being dragged away from the bar, crying and asking for help. Her fingers were broken one by one. But she watched coldly because she promised Fang Yueshi that she would never care about Shen Jinyu again. She was so distressed that she was almost suffocated, but she still pretended not to care about anything. In the dream, Shen Jinyu's hand was broken and she could no longer hold the scalpel. He watched Shen Jinyu sitting in the ward every day, staring at the sky outside in a daze, and crying inexplicably. He saw her self-harming again and again. And the scars on her wrists were deeper and deeper. When Shen Jinyu said, "I want to be the best doctor in the future," he promised Shen Jinyu that he would always protect her and her golden hands. But in the end, he became the culprit. He didn't dare to see Shen Jinyu. He was afraid that Shen Jinyu would look at him with those cold eyes, and he was afraid that he would never see a trace of love in Shen Jinyu's eyes again. He regretted it after Shen Jinyu's first suicide. But he also knew that they could not go back. Shen Jinyu died at the age of 25, and he didn't marry Fang Yueshi in the end. Even if Fang Yueshi threatened him with her life, he remained indifferent. He insisted on marrying Shen Jinyu, even if everyone scolded him. "You are so shameless. You forced your little niece to death, and you still want to marry her." He did not look back. Their wedding was grand, but there was no guest. He held Shen Jinyu's ashes and completed the wedding, and finally committed suicide at the wedding. 3 months later, when Li Yuli found me, I was stunned. I just came out of the ward and looked up to see him. He has lost a lot of weight, and the suit that used to fit him tightly is no longer supported now. He is skinny. He forced a smile on his pale face, and I frowned slightly and kept my distance from him. How have you been lately?" he asked in a strange way. I nodded. I have heard about Li Yuli's affairs more or less. The day I went abroad, he had a car accident. After waking up from the accident, he wanted to send Fang Yueshi back to Hongcheng and cancelled his engagement with Fang Yueshi. Fang Yueshi disagreed and had an awkward quarrel with him. Li Yuli still refused to back down. Fang Yueshi was so angry that she stole the Li family's business secrets and sold them to 2 or 3 of his rivals. Overnight, he was attacked from all sides. The Li family's stocks were volatile, the capital chain was broken, and the project was stopped. He worked non-stop for 3 months before he could stabilize the situation. Fang Yueshi was sued by him and sentenced to 5 years. When do you plan to return to Beijing? He asked again, with a cautious tone. I smiled. No, he was stunned. Why, your home, uncle forgot. I don't have a home in Beijing anymore. After my parents died, my only relative was Li Yuli. But later Li Yuli didn't want me anymore, so, no matter in the last life or this life, I have no home. Li Yuli wanted to say something else, but I didn't listen anymore, and hurried into the operating room with the stretcher that just came in. 5 hours had passed when I came out, and I thought he should have left long ago. Unexpectedly, Li Yuli was still standing there, waiting for me persistently. His eyes were obscure and emotional. I didn't understand, and I didn't know what he wanted to do, until he followed me to the downstairs of the dormitory and asked me. It must have hurt when your fingers were broken. I stopped and my 5 fingers tightened subconsciously. He looked at my back, his voice slightly nasal. I said, why does my Jinyu suddenly dislike me? I'm sorry, Jinyu, I was wrong. I thought I didn't love you, but he choked up halfway through his words. He covered his eyes, tears flowed from his fingers, and his shoulders kept shaking. It was like the pain was extreme. I'm just too scared, afraid that we started. But there would be no good ending. I'm afraid that we won't have any relationship in the end. I thought Fang Yueshi's appearance would only break your thoughts about me. I didn't expect it would turn out like this. I'm sorry. I made you suffer so much, and you were brave for so many years. He became more and more painful as he spoke, and he approached me carefully and slowly, and when he tried to pull my hand, I avoided it, and then looked back at Li Yuli. There's no need to be entangled, right? I have a new life, and so will Li Yuli in the future, but we won't have any intersection anymore. Uncle, people always have to move forward. After the words fell, the last glimmer of light in Li Yuli's eyes was completely extinguished. Jinyu, he smiled bitterly. I'm sorry. Goodbye, uncle. One after Shun Jinyu said the last word, he turned around and left without hesitation. Li Yuli habitually took out a cigarette box from his pocket, took out a cigarette with trembling hands and tried to light it, but the lighter couldn't light it. The wind at the border was so strong that the sand blew into his eyes, and he couldn't stop crying. If he could be brave once, and be brave for Shun Jinyu regardless of the consequences, wouldn't there be such an ending? At least he had it. If they couldn't reach the end, it would mean that they were not destined to be together, but he was unwilling to pay the cost of trial and error. After Shun Jinyu returned to the dormitory, she walked to the balcony. Just as he raised his head, she seemed to feel his gaze, lowering their heads. The two looked at each other. She smiled calmly, put away all the clothes, and closed the balcony door again. Her movements were as smooth as flowing water, without any nostalgia, happy. Unhappy, people, she would not be moved by him again. Thinking of this, he vomited a large pool of blood and fainted downstairs of her dormitory. One later, I heard about Li Yuli again 3 years later. He had lung cancer, in the late stage. On his deathbed, he hoped that I could see him for the last time. I looked at the full schedule of surgeries and regretfully refused. My friend said, before he died, Li Yuli notarized all his property and registered it under your name. He was really infatuated with you. How did you get to this point? I just smiled. At that time, I also wanted to ask why we got to this point. Now think about it, nothing matters anymore. Everyone has their own destiny when they are alive, and so do they when they die.